The Sham Army, as they've come to be known, have a growing reputation for violence both at Sham concerts and elsewhere. Skinhead fashion and behaviour are now being revived. But how does today's movement compare with the original skinhead era of the early 70s? Dave, Paul, Addy and Mick were amongst the first to become skinheads at that time. Paul described where he thought the look had come from in the first place.
I think it's because it's a working class thing, you know. It started in the East End, so I mean, I think it stems from the dockers and people who worked on the docks, you know, wearing boots and army trousers and things like that, you know, the braces. It's all a symbol of the working class man, you know. You know, it's something that hits back at society, the other classes. I think it's a class battle. That's how it started out, you know.
It was obviously their clothing as much as anything else which gave the original skinheads their identity. The cropped hair, Ben Sherman shirts, braces, Levi's or stay-pressed trousers rolled up to reveal their boots, the fighting weapons. Canning Town in the East End was one of the places the Skinhead Revival started 18 months ago. Do the new skinheads there place so much importance on the way they dress?
Well, you're different, aren't you? You Jack the Lad, you're walking along the road and you get people looking at you and they sort of stand back, standoffish. They don't want to come too close to you. You're toasty.
Why do you think the skinhead thing started all over again and started round here?
Well, because in a lot of the way, a lot of the punks are middle class and they were still saying it was sort of, they was walking around swearing and everything, thinking it was sort of something outrageous, you know, just because they was doing it. When it weren't, if it was like working class, then it was down to people like us. Yet punk weren't, because it just weren't us. You know, not that type of thing. So it just sort of went on from there.
What about the clothes that they wore? Was it partly not wanting to buy those expensive clothes?
We, for a start, you can't afford nothing like that, can you? I mean, £30 for a pair of trousers and all that. You know, it's just down to them. They could afford it, whereas we couldn't. So you had to have to be something different, yet still things that you could afford. And it was just sort of down to that's the type of things you could afford.
I was fed up with punk, I was fed up with soul, I was fed up with hippies, everything. And I see them, and at the time it looked not smart, but it just looked a bit tasty. So I thought that's the thing to be, not because of fashion-wise, but because I didn't want to be a soulie, because everyone's a soulie. But I didn't want to be punk, because that's anti-fashion, but I did want to be anti-fashion, but not sort of...
Yeah, I know.
In a punk sense, what I mean, like, you know?
So the thing about a skinhead thing is it's a very definite uniform, isn't it?
Yeah, it's anti-fashion, but now it's turned into fashion, isn't it? But first of all, it was anti-fashion.
And what did you do? What were the first things you bought? I mean, what?
Stay press, Ben Sherman, braces, brogues, and all things like Arrington. First thing in it, Arrington.
None of the skinheads we spoke to were members of either the British movement or the National Front now, though some had been last year.
A lot of them are in the National Front, I reckon. I mean, they started off earlier in the year. It was all in, the British movement started getting up, the British movement skinheads, because it got a bit of publicity in the press about British movement skinheads going to Sham concerts, and they jumped on the bandwagon, like they followed along with it. And a few skinheads was in it, like I was in it and a couple of other blokes was in it. But we've left it now. But there's still a few in there and they carry on with it because they want to, they're anti-black, anti-this, anti-communist and all this. I mean, they've got to live with the people. Most of them in the Socialist Workers' Party who's against the blacks and who's against the National Front, who's talking about all this living together and all that jazz, they're all living out in the sticks. They don't have to live with the people. When you don't have to live with the blacks or the communists, well, that's when you say, oh, well, everyone live together, because they've always got the money to move out of the place. They've always got the money to move out of the area.